Violence against women and girls, including domestic and gender based violence, is learned behavior that's generally perpetrated by males. It is rooted in inequality and has no racial, social, economic, or national boundaries. More importantly, it is preventable and can be unlearned. Hello, I'm Paige, here in conversation with an incredible personality in the nonprofit community. She is Christine Van Kroonen, co-founder, Truth and Reconciliation Conversations. She's a mom, a co-founder, and an activist, and she believes that everybody has the power to lead change from wherever they are. Welcome, Christine.
Hi, Paige. It's lovely to meet you.
Lovely talking to you. About Christine, Christine began a corporate career in the tourism industry where she worked for 10 years before partnering with an innovative team to successfully introduce and develop online travel systems for government tourism organizations. A subsequent shift in career focus and work in South Africa as a Montessori teacher presented her with the opportunity to develop practical educational programs and tools for children from all walks of life, most impactfully through the nonprofit organization Family Food Security. Truth and Reconciliation Conversations recognizes that everyone has a role to play in creating a more inclusive society, and they are working towards this goal by providing resources and guidance for having productive conversations about race and difference. Uh, I would assume that this is a very challenging task. Having a conversation is probably a most difficult thing when there are so many diverse group of individuals with different beliefs.
Yes, yeah. So the idea is based on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of South Africa, which was formed to address injustices after the end of apartheid. So we looked at how we could take this concept and make it more accessible to many more people around the world. And the one tool that we all have access to, that we all can use, is conversation.
Yes.
So our initiative began with our TRC talks and our 5 commitments around how to have these difficult conversations. And since then, it's grown to include our gender inequality initiative, as well as our events and education programs.
Christine, so you have these awareness programs. Do you have a method to measure the impact of your campaigns?
Yes, absolutely. So obviously, beyond having the conversation with us and our platform, people need to go on and implement these ideas or their ideas into their own communities and their own lives. And one of the ways they do that is by taking the TRC pledge. And that is a written. That is not a written pledge or something where they sign their name. They have to record themselves using their own words and their own ideas around how they are going to take action to end violence and against women and girls in particular, and gender-based violence, and share it on their own social media and encourage their own family and friends to participate in taking the pledge as well. So that
Yeah,
is a promise in front of everybody. It's
yes.
there. It can't be, it's the internet. It can't be deleted. And you share your own actions and your own reasons for wanting to make a difference around this.
That's an ingenious way. I looked at your website and you've got these wonderful thumbnails with all sorts of people having
Yes,
taken the pledge.
yes, yes, from around the world and all backgrounds.
Yes, it looks like a lovely collage too on the
Yes.
website. Wonderful. That is wonderful. Christine, tell us, do you have any partnerships or collaborations to further your mission?
Yes, we've got a partnership with Citizens High School, which is, I think it's one of the oldest online high school education institutions in America, if not the world, around the world. So we have an education program specifically towards gender-based violence for high schoolers that is accredited through our partnership with Citizens High School.
That is wonderful. You do engage with policymakers and stakeholders to promote the cause.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the best way to do it.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. And we
About yes, sorry.
Yeah, and we specifically engage with corporates around our gender safe workplace initiative, which is where they commit, so beyond individuals taking the TRC pledge, corporates can become involved by committing to provide a gender safe workplace where equality is promoted, as well as an environment free from gender based violence.
True. Sometimes, do you think, Christine, just asking here, sometimes do you think that because it is a requirement, do corporates or say universities just have it as a mandatory checkbox there? And do you actually feel that they need to show some kind of measurable action to show that they are really, not biased?
Yes, definitely. I think the statistics won't lie, and the feedback from the employees is, an obvious indicator. So, in line with that, we also issue a gender safe workplace certificate for companies and organizations that have shown compliance and that have shown beyond just ticking the box the policies and procedures for these practices.
Okay, so you do have some kind of system in place there.
Yes, yes,
Do you also engage with communities that may be particularly vulnerable to gender discrimination? Of course,
yes,
women are there, but people of color and LGBTQ, uh, those kind of individuals also, do you engage with such communities to make sure that they are not suffering with this bias?
yes. As you said, gender inequality it's pervasive everywhere across across income groups, races, cultures, countries. But some communities are more vulnerable than others. So one of the ways that we connect with communities is through our Take a Stand for Women and Girls initiative. And that allows us to really reach different communities who otherwise may not be involved as easily in the fight to end gender discrimination and gender based violence. And particularly in those initiatives, we look at talking to men and involving men because they are the ones who have the most power to
Relate.
make a difference in
True.
this issue.
Yeah. Um, Suppose you have two individuals who have suffered who have experienced gender discrimination. Do you have any support system in seeking justice or redressal?
Yes, we provide information according to right now it's specific to the US. So on our website, you we provide resources that are specific to each state. So in other words, where you can go to find help, what kinds of policies are in place around domestic violence, especially, and as I said, where you can go to for help. And
Right.
then in South Africa, we work with a particular organization in Johannesburg, where we're based, and they respond to all our clients around domestic violence and gender based violence, particularly in schools.
Okay. Um, is it easy for such individuals to come and report it? Is it done under an anonymous, you know, is it done anonymously or is it done directly?
Well, the resources are available on our site, but our initiative focuses on education and taking action to end it rather than where you, as a place where you come to report incidences of gender-based violence. So that would still have to be going through to the police and the hospital and so on. But on our website, you could come and find all those contact details.
Right. All this talking in theory, I mean, you are doing a lot of work talking about what needs to be done, what can be done, and what is being done is there. But on an individual level, how can you, how can the person who's sitting next to me, how can we create, resources or support systems uh, to people who may be experiencing gender-based discrimination?
That's a very important question. And it goes back to the idea of conversation. So gender-based violence is still, even though it's 1 in 3 women who are experiencing it worldwide, and as I said, across the spectrum. It is still a taboo topic. So, one of the easiest ways that you can make a difference is to break the silence, is to talk about it. Is if you see something and you hear something and it doesn't sound right and it doesn't look right to you, to not ignore it, to speak up and say what is going on. And then for those of us who have experienced it, it's also about breaking the silence and being willing to share our stories so that others who hear it can know that they are not alone and can know that there are people out there willing to listen and who do understand. So, yes, it goes back to conversation and breaking the silence. And then, aside from that, there's also the idea of being willing to listen when somebody does come forward, and believing someone. Those are just three of the most basic but such vital steps that can make a difference. And then lastly, of course, is to hold somebody accountable. If it's true that it's 1 in 3 women, that means we also all know someone who's been a victim of gender-based violence.
Yes, yes.
And the other side of that is we also know somebody who is a perpetrator. So
True.
the perpetrator is not the boogeyman coming in the middle of the night or that kind of thing. It's somebody you know as well. So like we must be willing to believe and listen to victims, we also need to be honest and address and confront and hold accountable those men who we know are perpetrators of gender-based violence.
I would say a lot of strength is required on the individual's side as well. For example, if I have faced gender based discrimination somewhere, my first instinct would be to, it's okay, it happens all the time, it happens to everybody. I might as well, ignore
Yep.
it and move ahead. And then the second time it happens, and the third time it happens. When is the time that I should know that I should be speaking out now? I should not be waiting for another moment, or I should not be waiting for another incident to happen. How does that strength come about? How do you inculcate that strength?
Oh, wow. That strength is not easy for anyone. If it was easy, so much would be different. We would be able to end a generational cycle. We would have ended it so long ago. So it's definitely not easy. But I think what you have to remember is that it's a pattern. Any kind of discrimination is a pattern. And the abuser, the perpetrator, the corporation is counting on your silence. They're counting on you to not say anything. So it's like the same basics that we tell our children about bullying, that somebody has to stand up to that bullying, and that most of the times you would be surprised how powerful your voice can be. I remember with myself, I entered the workplace just after apartheid ended in South Africa. So it was a new experience, not just for me, but for example, it wasn't something I could talk to my mother about because she had grown up and worked under apartheid, so she didn't have a reference for we how to deal with issues in the workplace. And myself, as a 21-year-old, I remember it took me a while to catch on that I was being paid less than my colleagues. And it was very difficult, but I had to go and have that conversation. And it's fortunate that it worked out for me, but still I had no way of knowing that. I had to look at the work I was doing, and I had to say nobody else, as much as everybody else liked me, thought I was a good worker, believed in change. It took myself to stand up for the inequality that I was experiencing. Nobody could be passionate about it but me.
That's true. Yeah, nobody can be more passionate about it
Yes,
but you. I think,
exactly.
yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. Absolutely right. What are the future goals of your organization, Christine?
To get more people involved, to get more people to break the silence, and especially to get more people to take the pledge and just take a stand for women and girls where you live. The more men that can become involved, and the more men that can use their power and recognize how much impact they can have in making the world better for their wives, daughters, colleagues, friends, neighbors, because it's the right thing to do. That is exactly what we want to see happening. So our events have been growing. Our Take a Stand event is happening every month. It's happening every month, and we are looking especially forward to Nelson Mandela International Day this year in July, where we will be hosting our event on a really grand scale.
Lovely, lovely. That's wonderful. I'd love to hear about that more whenever that happens, and looking forward to that. Wish you all the good wishes for this event.
Thank you so much.
In conclusion, raising awareness about gender discrimination is an ongoing process. It requires the engagement of individuals, organizations at all levels. And the work of nonprofits like TRC is vitally important. You play a key role in educating the public, promoting gender equity, and advocating for these policies with the corporates and society in general. I would say that the fight for gender equality is far from over, and there is still so much work to be done. But I think if all of us commit ourselves to creating a more just and equitable society, I'm sure we can hope to create a world where everyone is valued for being themselves and respected, and where everybody can achieve their full potential. Thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you so much, Sage.
That was wonderful, and I look forward to hearing about the event later in the year.